Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our True North Speaker Series. Thank you again for tuning in. On today, we have the amazing Petrina Carter.
Thank you.
Me. So we get the ins and outs of who is Miss Petrina Carter. Are you ready?
I'm ready as I'll be.
Don't be nervous. Be Miss Petrina.
Okay.
First question is a question that I always ask everybody. Who is Petrina Carter?
Petrina Carter, I think she's a mother. She is a mother, but not in the sense of just being a mother to my children. When I say I'm a mother, I am a birther. I
Ooh.
birth.
You
I
dropping
nurture.
knowledge from the gate, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I birth, I nurture, and I release. And that's what I do with my children, and that's what I do with my ideas. So I don't have to own and control, and because when you do that, you squash things from growing to their full potential.
Okay, so give me an example of I birthed.
I put the energy in to bring things to being. And in knowing that as a mother, when you birth something, then you nurture it, you give it the energy it needs to thrive, and then you release it to do what it needs to do.
Okay. Birth, nurture, release. I love that. Okay, so tell me, you are a dynamic woman in this community. But I don't know how many people know like the backstory as far as you raising 4 daughters,
Yes.
4 daughters,
And my stepson.
and your stepson.
Yes.
And they are all amazing human beings. For example, this portrait behind us is one of your daughters. And this is not even her main talent. This is just like, oh, I'm not doing anything today. Let me paint this.
Absolutely. That's her.
I don't want to tell the story of your daughters, but can you give us a little insight on who these amazing women and your stepson, who these women are?
So, they are beautiful spirits
Yes.
that the Lord saw fit for me to lead and guide. And so my oldest, they don't like for me to talk about what they do, but, she's up there in Meta. She is managing and running things at Meta. And so...
God.
Yeah. And prior to that, she's an ex-Fed, and so she's the first one to make me a grandma.
And that's the most important thing.
Yes, grandmommy.
So what's your grandma name?
I'm grandmommy.
Grandmommy. Okay.
Yeah. So I tell them I'm grander than mommy.
You just put the shame on them. I love it, Grandmommy. Yeah. Okay, so tell me about the other ones.
And then my next oldest is Saida, and she is just, as you can see, this is what she started doing during COVID. We were all here, and I often say COVID was the best of times, the worst of times, because so many people lost family members during that time. But it also was an opportunity for families to once again come together.
Yeah.
And for me and my daughters, we were all under one roof the majority of the time.
Wow.
And with the grandchildren. And so it was just a wonderful time in the midst of a scary time for the world.
Yeah.
But Saida, she pull away and start painting. And she is a trained architect. She's got a master's degree in architecture, engineering. She's worked at some of the largest foundations, Ford Foundation. She was recently with J.P. Morgan as an investment banker, and she's currently with MacArthur Foundation.
Wow.
So, Yeah, so there, Amina's a Spelmanite. If I do not say, she graduated from Spelman, so the premier HBCU, and went on to Berkeley. And Saida did full scholarship from Mr. Janak, Roy Janak, Mark Janak's dad.
Wow.
He did a full scholarship for her to Illinois Institute of Technology, where she got her architecture and her master's in architecture and engineering, and went on to get an MBA at Harvard.
Wow.
So Amira has made me a mom, a grandmommy 3 times over, and I'm just delighted. And she's working in banking, in that fraud section, and I'm amazed at the things that the banks can find out about you.
Yeah.
But and she graduated from VCU.
Wow.
So she's married. And the wonderful thing is that my 2 oldest are in New York, and the 2 youngest ones are in Charlotte. And so they all are right there together. So, when you release things,
Yes.
God has a way of putting it together.
When you just touch things, well, we don't let you birth more stuff. That's what you birthing. You got receipts. You birthing some stuff for real.
Yeah, and so Monet, my baby, she is pregnant right now, and she's 8 months, and we are just so overjoyed because the doctor said they wouldn't be able to get pregnant.
Oh, congratulations.
And so we are overjoyed, and so we're waiting on Mason. He should make his arrival by March 15th, and so we are waiting expectantly. Yeah.
So you did this as a single mom?
Not wholly.
Okay.
And the crazy thing is, if I remember being in a room with the girls, it was a college prep, and they were saying the children who are from single family homes, raise your hands. And I'm looking at them like, hello. And they're like, our father is he may not live with us, but he's.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
They didn't consider themselves as single. And so, I was, a lot of people don't know I was married for 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
They was like, I ain't raised my hand, my dad. Nobody.
Yeah, I was married for quite some time, but that wasn't a healthy marriage for me, so it ended. But he was still there for the industry.
So tell me, because I'm just fascinated, what is it that you birthed these amazing kids, like to be so involved, like, to just blossom, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4? How? I asked another one of the people that I interviewed, what was your magic trick? Like, how, they're just amazing.
I think a lot of it is quality rather than how much time you're spending, because I've basically worked all my life, and so really just putting the time in and, doing things with them, going, the big trips. People always want to take these huge trips. And I'd be like, do y'all remember when we went to Disney World? No, but remember when we went to that park and we, so it's those, it's not about, how much money you have, but how much time that you're given. And one thing that I would always say, when I was pregnant, I would say to my children, we need scholarships. You gotta have to get a scholarship to go to school. So I always talk education because I believe that education is really powerful. If you get an education, people can't take that from you.
Yeah.
If they take the job, you still have your education. You have your experience. Education is not about how much you know, but how do you learn how to figure things out? How do you learn to think? And so just being able to regurgitate facts, that's all great. But do you know how to develop and think through things and ideas and conflict and resolving? And so really, I don't know the magic as much as, letting your children know that you love them.
But I like that. That is the magic, because somebody else was talking about it. I think it was Keisha Avery. She said the exact same thing you said. It was like the knowledge to not just take a test, but to take that knowledge to learn, to use it and apply it in life. And that could be the trick, the reason why your daughters are so amazing. Everything they learn it in a tool of, this is life, this is being, and this is how I process it and how I implement things. And that's what makes them so dynamic in the workforce. They just didn't learn, it's like, oh, I got a test on Friday.
Right.
How is this going to impact me forever, almost my entire life? That knowledge piece.
Yeah. And it wasn't ever, okay, go in your room and do your homework. It was, bring that homework, let me see it. And I'd be sitting at the table fussing at the teacher because in 5th grade, she was giving homework like they were in college. And I'm like, what is wrong with her? She know I got to cook, I got to cook, and I got to help y'all with this homework. So,
Yeah.
But, being engaged and involved with the education. But my daughter is, Amina, she's the one who made me go back and finish my education.
Okay.
Because I went to school straight from high school, but I wasn't focused.
Yeah.
I was, and I think career counselors at colleges really have an important role in helping young people develop when they don't know which way they're going. I was a first-time college student.
Yeah.
No one in my family had graduated before,
Yeah.
had went to college. I didn't
Wow.
have that experience. So I was there, and I did what I knew best those first 3 years of college. That was party.
Yeah.
We're just gonna keep it real. That's what I did. And amazingly, I didn't flunk out of school because I had a really good brain, and I wouldn't even buy books. I would go to my friend and be like, can I see your book the day before? And I just scan it. And I go and I get a B on the test and she get a D. She been studying all week. They be mad at me like, what? But it was easy for me.
Yeah.
And so had I really applied myself, had someone given me the direction, I wanted to teach. They didn't have teaching at that college.
Yeah.
So I did math. And I was excellent. Math was like puzzles to me, figuring
Wow.
out puzzles. And then when I got to the level of doing student teaching, I was like, I'm going to catch a case. No, but it was my daughter who said to me, because I'm preaching education.
Yeah.
You all have to study, you have to understand, you have to be able to do well because you got to get scholarships. Because now I am not married, and I'm like, we got to be able to get you all to pay for school. And she said, she's like 12. Mommy, do you have a degree? Ooh. Okay, from the mouth of babes.
Yeah.
I said, well, I went to college, but I didn't finish. She said, so when you going to finish?
Wow, at 12.
Mm-hmm. I said, before you get to school, I'll finish. And so I did. I went back to get my degree in sociology, my undergrad in sociology from UNCG. So I did finish and get that. And then I went back and got my master's. And so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so then they were like, okay, you going for the doctorate? No, y'all do that. I'm done. I'm good. I am so good.
I don't know, maybe I'm pushing it, but how did you motivate your daughters to be focused and just like those goal seekers and just to achieve such high level?
I don't know that I can take the credit.
Yeah.
I think innately, they are they operate in excellence.
Yeah.
And the thing that I definitely want to say is people need to figure out their path and what's comfortable for them. And I never want to make it look like my daughters did this and they are excellent. It's hard in corporate America for African American women.
Yeah.
So I don't want that to be missed. My daughters have not all the time been happy in corporate America.
Yep.
And learning how to find your voice when you seem to be surrounded by people who don't care about your voice is a lesson that you're not taught in school.
Right.
And so I think being able to talk to me about it and me talking and not even talking sometimes, just listening.
Yeah.
Just hearing the pain of how much can I be wholly who I am and what does this all mean? And that's not a question that you are going to figure out in the first couple of years out there. And so it's a question that I think oftentimes if you're living, you should be asking yourself, how do I fit in the scheme of, am I following the purpose that my life, because everyone has a purpose that they're here to achieve. And sometimes when we're working these jobs, it feels like we have disconnected from our purpose. And so they are amazing.
Yes.
They are amazing. And I just,
So, I mean, when I hear their resumes and I see the things they do, and I've been on a couple of Zoom calls with them, just coincidentally do the work that we do. And by the end of it, he's like, oh, that's my daughter. And we're like, Michelle Obama, slide over. I'm like, watch out. Because they such amazing ladies. And I was like, how do I teach my daughter to be like that? Like literally, what is it so I can give it to my child? Like, let's replicate it, nurture it, send it out there. I mean, how do I do that? And that's why I ask about them all the time. I know they don't know who I am, but their name are forever in my mouth. I talk about them all the time because they're such amazing women. And the things that you talk about when they're positions and the things that they hold, I love it how you just look at it as a normal thing. Like, this is where they're supposed to be. This is, for me, I look at it like at the top of the mountain, like the moon. And you was like, no, that's their job. I really do love that. Because it's like, why not them?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm looking at that is so amazing. But I want to be in the place where, why not them? Who else? They're the most qualified. And I think a lot of times that is overlooked because they're the first or the only. And so a lot of times we get so captivated in that we overlook the fact of their being, and that's where they're supposed to be.
Yeah. And I think, I will applaud people when they say the first African American, but it gnaws at my spirit because it's not that they're the first because they're the best qualified. It's because the barriers to the success have been removed to some degree. It's a lot of spaces that have been we have been excluded from.
Yeah.
And it's not because we are not smart enough or qualified enough, but it's because there are barriers. And I would be remiss if I did not speak about equity and inequity in the systems that operate in America. And that's a reality. If you read our history and don't allow anyone to just tell you what your history is, America had some really bad systems.
Right.
And they're currently still being replaced. But the fact is, the game got going and we weren't allowed to play.
Right. This guy that I was in environmental justice class with, and we had to give one fact about ourselves. And when he stood up doing environmental work, you don't see a lot of African-American men. Mm-hmm. And when he stood up, he said, the one fact about me is I hate being the first, but I own it, that it's my responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But he said, I hate being the first. Mm-hmm. And it just was shocking to me, his interpretation of it. But he owned it, he accepted it, and he's going to continue to do it. Mm-hmm. But he just hated it had to be this to 21st century, and we're still talking about being the first. Right. Your biography portfolio is like 10 miles long. It's extraordinary, and it's 10 miles long. And you can give us a little back history of, some of your professional career pathways. But one of the things that I really, really like when you talk about your role at Averett, I went to Averett, and it was when it was Averett College, and I did have a lot of struggles, but it was amazing, my circle of people, that's Chief Irvin, she was in my circle when I was at Averett. And I walked away with a lot of built relationships. Mm-hmm. And you talk about how relationships matter. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit what your job was when you was at Averett.
Okay, at Averett, I was the Director of Career Services.
Mm-hmm.
And as the Director of Career Services, because I know as a first-time college student how important it was for someone to have stepped in, and they didn't. And so I wasted a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so I would speak to the parents at freshman orientation and let them know, these first 2 years, these kids, they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm here to help them figure it out. Because if they figure it out in the first 2 years, then they're not trying to change their major in their junior year, because that's when it really gets serious. Let them explore a lot of different things. And the thing that I had to learn was, and I would tell new parents, is if they say they want to do art, let them do art. Saida never wanted to do art, but Monet wanted to do art. And I was like, no, what are you going to do with art? And so I was like, do social work. And so she did horribly in social work. And she was like, Mommy, I don't like people like that. So I had to learn, allow them to lead you and just encourage them. And especially in that first 2 years, they may come home at break and say, no, I changed my major. Let them.
Yeah.
Let them take a few classes in those first couple of years. So Averett was a wonderful time. I think it was a good time that I was at Averett, as Averett was starting to open up more to the community.
Yeah.
And, I came shortly after Dr. Franks.
Okay.
So maybe 9 months after Dr. Franks got there. So it was a wonderful time.
Yeah.
And she just really, she would have her fireside chats.
Yeah.
Really hearing from the employees, the students, and the community. And so now I think we really can say we have a hometown university, where before people didn't feel like Averett was for the community, but now we believe it is.
Because when I was at Averett, it wasn't my first choice. My dad got sick, and I was like, I still want to go to school, I still want to play ball, so that's how I ended up at Averett. But I'm thinking, why wasn't I had access to the knowledge that Averett right here in my own town?
Right.
And I was in Project Discovery, and we toured colleges all over the state of Virginia, and we never went to Averett.
Right.
So I see how things are changing, and they're trying to be more community-based in high school, active in the different high schools to get exposure, so kids can even say, oh, I have a hometown college at the end of the day, somewhere that I can go, a university that I can go to if I want that experience and don't want to travel, and don't want to leave home. So I'm glad that is happening. So where did you go after that?
Oh, after Averett, look, I got to go through. I'm like, okay.
Tell me about your experience at Dove's, because that's, I'm all about women advocacy. And
So Dove's was before Averett.
Okay.
And so I have a lot of nonprofit experience, and I walked into Dove's. Dove's was in crisis. Their prior executive director was stealing the monies, and I always say I walk into these circumstances, and instead of me running, I'm like, okay, well, how can I help?
Yeah.
And so we really worked hard to turn things around, but it was difficult. But I started working at Dove's, but prior to working there, I used to volunteer.
Wow.
And so one of the things that I always felt important with my children was to expose them to volunteering in the community. I thought that they were privileged, even though I would tell them sometimes, y'all know we poor.
We can't even football.
We can't afford the OR. We just poor. But I really felt that we were rich in so many ways. And so I canceled the materialistic part of Christmas at our home. They would either have to make something, write a note, but we were not going to the store and buy stuff. They didn't like that at first.
Yeah.
But guess what? I think because of that, they now do not overindulge at Christmas time. They do gifts because, now I'm a grandmommy, so the grandbabies. But we would go and we would feed the homeless on Christmas Day. Then we come home and we play games. And so we're big on games. We spent the pandemic playing Catan.
What is that?
It's like Monopoly on steroids.
Okay.
You got to do Catan. You can't do Monopoly once you've done Catan.
Okay.
I see some heads not.
Yeah, my niece and her husband, we always play Monopoly, and he is so competitive. I mean, he hates to lose.
Okay.
So I'm buying Catan.
Yeah, Catan is it.
Yeah.
But
every time I look at you now being at Tri-County, and we'll talk about that, but it's always mission-driven work that you end up attaching yourself to. And I love that. But do you intentionally do that, or it goes back to that purpose thing?
I think I can tell you that I don't often look for work. It usually just comes to me, and I'll decide, okay, I think that's probably something I can add to. And each job that I've taken, I've thought that I was going to be there and retire. I'm like, ain't it in my plan to stay somewhere 30 years?
We don't do that anymore.
So when I left Dove's to go to Averett, I ended up going to Averett because I was doing my master's level work.
Okay.
And I needed to get internship. Gotcha. And so I was interning with the counselor at Averett. And she said, Petrina, we need you on campus. You really will add something to this campus. And I was like, but I'm not looking for a job. She's like, the career counselor is open. You would be dynamic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all righty.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's look into it. And so then I applied. And I got the job. And it required a master's degree that I hadn't yet finished.
Wow.
So doors were open even when the paper qualifications aren't always there.
One of my friends, Maxine Patty, we had a community council meeting for North Main, and she was at that meeting to do a representative for education and bring in some of that knowledge. And one of the things that she said at that meeting that I had immediately texted to my kids, she was like, Lord, thank you for my lane. Teach me not to swerve. And I thought that was so deep because when you in your lane and you operate in purpose, things just fall in your lap. It's when we decide to do something different, or oh, I heard about this job, let me just apply for it. But when we just stay in our lane and stay purpose driven, it just falls in our lap. It just falls in our lap. And I didn't believe that at first, y'all, but it is true. Every job that I was most successful in was the ones that came to me. Now, I applied for jobs and got them, and it was not the best experience. But the ones that was most successful was the ones just say, will you take this job? I think you'll be great in this job, especially Boys and Girls Club. They was like, I got a phone call, you should apply. Got a phone call, you should come back. And I think that's how it worked. And I just will forever remember that, Lord, thank you for my lane. Teach me not to swerve. And you are the epitome of that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Tell me about Tri-County. I'm so interested in the work you do there. La-da-da-da, everything.
Oh, my goodness. So the thing that I love about Tri-County and Community Action is a network. Community Action is actually an act of Congress that birthed Community Action back in 1965 through the War on Poverty. And so this Community Action across the nation, in this area, Danville, Pennsylvania County, we have PCCA, Pennsylvania County Community Action. I'm actually at Tri-County, which actually covers Halifax, Mecklenburg, and Charlotte counties in Virginia, all rural communities. The wonderful thing about Community Action is we are able to hear what the community says they need, turn on a dime, and create that thing that they need.
Wow.
Case in point, let me just first talk about some of the things that we do. So we have a weatherization program where we go in and we weatherize homes for free.
Wow.
They're going in and they are putting in insulation. They are sealing all cracks to make sure that your air stays in, cool air in the summer stays in, and heat in the winter. And it's reducing people's energy bills. We do energy share, where we help to pay utility bills. We help with mortgages. We are the lead agency for the COC, the Continuum of Care, which is for homelessness. We have a permanent supportive housing program where we recognize that housing is a right. Housing also is a need. And before you can work on the other needs that people have, you first have to house them.
Right.
Tell me that you gonna help me with my drinking, but I still gotta lay out here on a bench. It's not gonna happen. Get me housed, and then we can talk about my other issues. And so we also run a domestic violence and sexual assault program. We have a shelter where we house victims of domestic violence. We do support groups. We have a Head Start program where we do preschool education for 3 and 4 year olds. We have when I say we spend on a dime, Halifax Hospital is no longer, Centera is no longer providing birthing in their hospital. So that was a need. So we developed the infant and maternal care program. And through that program, we built out a consortium of agencies and public people who are interested in coming together as a coalition and really figuring out how do we ensure that women have a safe place to deliver babies in this area. So Halifax, Mecklenburg, and Charlotte counties are now considered maternal health deserts.
Wow.
That means that it will take you 45 minutes or more to get to a hospital to deliver. And so we're...
To deliver and for checkups? How does that work?
So Centera did not pull out of the GYN, OBGYN.
Okay.
But a lot of times, if the doctor can't deliver in that area, then the doctor chooses to leave. And so it's a stress on the system. And so, when you're talking about the people who we care for, who are usually in poverty, they may or may not have a vehicle.
Right.
If you call the ambulance and say, I'm in labor, and the ambulance comes, they're going to take you to the nearest hospital. That hospital may not have anybody in obstetrics. So it's a crisis that we are looking to bring awareness to. America is doing horribly in maternal care. African American women die at 3 times the rate of other women. But no woman should die because they're having a baby. And so we are trying to, through the infant and maternal health program at Tri-County, we're trying to educate women about what they should ask, how they're going to meet their needs. We're bringing the symposium on April 13th. We're so excited. We'll be having a symposium. We'll have doctors who will speak about not only giving birth, but taking care of your body prior to birth. Because when you present and you become pregnant and you already have high blood pressure and diabetes and all of these, that really complicates matters. And so we're excited about being able to step into that space and step into it strongly.
How do you operate in boardrooms and in spaces when you are the only female or the only Black person or either the only Black female? How do you operate in those spaces to be able to use your voice? Because you use your voice. We don't even have to have that conversation. Miss Petrina gonna say it. So where did that confidence come from?
I don't know if it's confidence as much as it's a passion for the people that I've been out here for over 30 years working in these communities. And so I know when you say to me that, because I'm going to ask, if I'm the only one in the room, I have to ask, why am I the only one in the room? And I have been told, well, we couldn't find any other qualified. And so then I take out my pen and my paper and I start writing down names. Okay, because I know they are qualified people. And so I'm never in a room because I want to promote Petrina.
Right.
I'm there because of the work has brought me there. And so if you're in the room and you're afraid to speak, then you need to check your motives of why you're there.
Ooh.
Why are you in the room?
Yeah.
Because I sit here, I may be the only one, but I'm representing so many more.
Yeah.
And I owe it to them to not be silent when I see things that need to be spoke. You need to speak on. So I'm going to speak on it. I don't walk into a room and just start talking.
Yeah.
I do my research. I look into the issues at hand. Just talking to be talking
Right.
is irritating.
Yeah.
And so when you are speaking and you're speaking from a base of knowledge, then the room has to listen. Oftentimes in this area, I remember a book, and I said I need to go back and read it, when I was in elementary school, The Emperor with No Clothes.
Okay.
And in that book, the thing that I remember, and I said, I got to go and read the book again, but the thing that I remember is this emperor didn't have any clothes on, and everyone around him didn't want him to be mad at them, so they let him walk out with no clothes on. And so everybody would say how beautiful his garment was, but he didn't have any clothes on. And so often in this area, people are walking around with no clothes on,
Right.
but no one wants to tell them they don't have any clothes on.
Right.
So, yeah, put some clothes on.
I just want to know, so you say you prepare before you go in these rooms, and then you speak from a place of knowledge. What is it like when you step out of that space? Do you be stressed at all? Like, when you leave, do you be like, for me, and I am younger than you, but I'm still older, and I just get freeze. Like, I know what my responsibility is, and I'm like you, why I'm the only one in this space, and I'm very intentional about, I'm not going to be here by myself long. And what I mean is diversifying in all levels, thought, everything, the metrics, the whole full-blown metrics. But a lot of times when I speak up, after I leave, I just feel like just anxious. Where does that strength that you have come from?
So when things are difficult, I like to go to a place of wonder. I wonder why this room is like this.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened to cause it to be this way. And I wonder what needs to happen to change it. Every room that you go in, there's a leader.
Yeah.
You have to figure out who's the leader here. And once you figure out who the leader is, then you have to build relationship. So you can't walk up to someone and get them to change the way they think or the way they operate just because you gave them words.
Right.
You have to first build a relationship. And even in those rooms, you have to build relationship.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the most difficult boardrooms that I've been in, and I won't mention where it was. Yeah. But I mean, battles, because the leader in that room had never been told no.
Wow.
And they came to me and said, Petrina, I thank you for telling me no, because we ended up with a better product because you said no. And so it is our responsibility to stay focused on why you're there. So when I'm at Tri-County, I'm not there to make friends. It's wonderful if my staff like me.
Yeah.
But if they don't, as long as we are staying on mission.
Right.
And so when you say staying in your lane, and when you are doing nonprofit work, you learn about mission drift.
Right.
And you can so easily come off of your mission, and people will have you doing some of everything.
For a little bit of funding, but yes, I know.
So you have to stay focused on what is most important, what is going to change and make an impact. And so, yes, Tri-County does a lot of programming, but we have to also do advocacy, because programs hit at individuals.
Yeah.
But if the work that needs to be done is systems work, a program can't fix it. So you have to do the advocacy to change the system,
right,
so that individuals can grow and thrive in these communities.
Yeah. And I like what you said, because Tri-County is more about teaching them to fish than just giving them fish. And I love that. And I think that's so important in this community work. Both is needed.
Absolutely.
Both is needed. We need to, pass out boxes of food. That is definitely needed. But we need to also teach people how to fish. It is important that people learn these skills and resources and have access. And like you said, it comes from policies, advocacies, and systems.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times we lose track of that because we gave them a box of food.
And we want to take a picture giving them a box of food.
Yeah.
Now, if I need a box of food, do I need you to take a picture of me getting the box of food? No, I don't.
Yeah.
And I just wish that when people are out here in these communities, that they would apply dignity to the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
Everything isn't about a picture.
Right.
Do the work.
Yeah.
Everything else will fall into place.
Yeah.
Yes, we want to advertise, but can people have dignity when they're down?
Yeah.
I don't want a picture when I'm trying to get a box of food.
Right.
Yeah, they may take the picture, but would you want, if you wouldn't want it, then don't ask someone else to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will ask my parents of Head Start children, would you like to do a commercial? Yeah, promoting this,
Yeah.
but we don't take pictures at our food bank.
Yeah.
We could take pictures of the workers working at the food bank, but we're not taking pictures of people lined up at the food bank.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
For me, the question is for you, so let me stop saying for me. How do you carry the weight? How do you do that?
So, I think the hardest job that I've had was when I was a volunteer at Dove's. And this is going to date me a little bit, but we used to have a beeper.
A little bit, Miss Petrina. A little bit.
And when the beeper went off, then I would call to the hospital and they would tell me whether I needed a small, medium, or large sweatsuit because someone had been raped. And that's all I knew when I would get to the hospital. And so I have to get to that door. And I just, some people may not want to hear it, but I am a woman of God, and prayer is what sustains me. And so before I would go in that room, I would stand at the door and I'd say, Lord, I don't know who's on the other side of this door, but give me what I need to say to encourage them in this moment.
Yeah.
Because I'm there for two reasons. One is to support them, give them these clothes, but also to convince them that after you have been totally violated, to allow these doctors to come in and do a head-to-toe exam, taking hair and specimens from your entire body.
Yeah.
And if you've been violated in that way, you don't want to be touched. And so I opened that door, and it could be a child in there.
Yeah.
It could be an adult. And to take that home, because again, it goes back to you birth things, you nurture them, and then you have to release them. I had to learn how to release.
Yeah.
Because I'm only with them for that. They may choose to take us up and come into one of the support groups, and I may see them again. 80% of the time, they're not. I won't ever know what the end of the story is. And so I had to learn how to release things back to the owner of them, which is the universe. It's not me.
Yeah.
Play your part and move out the way. And so that's how I release a lot of stress. When I worked over in Cardinal Village, my office was in Cardinal Village. And I would be so frustrated because I'm like, I've got this good program and you all are not taking advantage of it. And it came to my remembrance what one of my supervisors when I worked at Danville Social Services said. She said, Petrina, if you go into people's homes placing your values on them, you don't allow them to live the life that they choose to live.
Yeah.
You got to allow people to live lives that are different than the life that you would live. And different doesn't mean worse. It just means different. So that allows me to release a lot. I release a lot of people. I know that I've had a lot of experiences just in Danville alone, but I didn't grow up in Danville.
Right.
I came here with experiences. And so I have a lot of knowledge, especially around nonprofit advocacy, human service work. And I'm always, anybody can call me, if I got a referral, a resource, I share. But I'm also good at shaking the dust off my feet and keeping it moving.
Right.
If you know everything, there's nowhere for me to help you.
Right.
I can't help you. And so people will say, she's not helpful. I'm not going to force myself into your situation. If you need the assistance, I'm there.
Do you ever struggle or feel the need to code switch?
I wouldn't say code switch. I would say that you have to utilize different tools in your tool bag at different times. And so most people in the workplace will call me either Miss Carter, Petrina, Miss Petrina. People who know me can call me Trina.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'm not code switching. Trina is different than Petrina. You don't want to meet Trina in the workplace.
Go on over here.
So, and I think we all have those different ways. There are ways that we act at home, but the core of who you are shouldn't be changing, because that's going to mess you up in the end.
How do you know when the difference? How do you know? Like, how do you know when you're changing the core of who you are, or you in the professional setting just being Miss Petrina, Miss Carter versus Trina? How do you know when you're doing that? I'm gonna be honest, because I don't do it as much, but I felt the need to replicate my environment when I was younger. And I don't know if it was the core me or just the wanting to be accepted and heard. So I felt like I had to say it in a language that speak a certain language or act a certain way to be understood and heard. So when would I know that it's the core me that's changing versus just Miss Petrina versus Trina?
I think when people are impeding upon your values, because...
Okay, gotcha.
And that's where that core sits. It sits in the values. What do you value? And when being in a certain room allows you makes you feel like you have to distance yourself from those people.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm not like those people. I'm different. There's a problem. There are people who allow themselves to be paraded rather than positioned. You let people position you.
Yeah.
Don't allow people to parade you. I won't be paraded, but you can assist me in being positioned.
Yeah. I like that.
So
that's deep. Mm-hmm. What about the imposter syndrome? How do you navigate in that?
I haven't had that happen in a while. But again, going to my daughters who are in these rooms and encouraging them that like who are you not?
Right.
You only want to be you. And so I remember getting to a job and saying, oh my God, I don't know crap. But then as I went through the tour of the building and I'm meeting all of these people, I said, everybody here is human. So I guess I can do something because I'm human too.
Yeah.
And so I walk into any new space, a new environment, saying, I have to learn.
Yeah.
I'm human and I have to learn. You're not going to know everything. When you come in believing that you know everything, no one can teach you. So you have to be teachable. Yes, you need to bring a level of skill and expertise, but be patient with yourself and know that you're learning, and the people around you, they had to learn too.
Yeah.
Everybody started somewhere.
For me, I'm not even looking at my questions. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not even looking. This is so good. I'm not even looking at these questions. When you begin to, okay, so you CEO of Tri-County, and we talk about you have to write grants and everything, but at the end of the day, I have seen you in the classroom with the little 3 and 4 year olds. How do you balance that from writing that grant you just got was like a $10 million grant
It wasn't that much.
to what's y'all's budget?
Our budget is about $8 million.
Managing an $8 million organization to covering with a 4-year-old. How do you manage all of that?
Oh, the 4-year-old is necessary to keep me centered, and that is joy. That is pure joy. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I think I'd love to just be in the classroom with the kids, because adults are difficult. But I think you have to look at what's important and if you spend your time like you spend your money, budget it in that way, the end of the day, you when I get home at night and go to sleep, I go to sleep and I'm done. I don't have to, oh my God, I could only do what I can do. I'm human.
Yeah.
I am no longer going to apologize for me taking 2 days to get back to you in an email.
Yeah.
I'm human, and those emails keep coming and they don't stop. And so I can choose whether I'm going to sit here and answer 50 emails or I'm going to engage in this classroom for a moment. I don't get in the classroom as much as I want to. I don't get out on the front lines because, I am the president and CEO. I do have that work to do. And when there's something else that needs to be done, then I'm there doing it. But as the president and CEO, I'm never above any job at my organization. I am them. They are me. Ubuntu.
Yeah.
We are because I am because you are.
And when I was at Boys and Girls Club, when I had those opportunities to go in the classroom and sit down and paint rocks or be at the movie theater with kids beside me watching Wakanda or in the garden with them or on the chalk, writing with the chalk and everything, it made the grant easier. It made writing the grant easier because it gave it purpose.
Absolutely.
And it was just not this 10-page document with 100 questions and all this research. It was like, oh, I'm doing that because of this. And it made it so much easier.
Yeah, oftentimes people I remember this lady came to me and she said, oh, I'm so glad I ran into you because you told me you were going to write a grant for me. I said, no, that wasn't a conversation I had. That wasn't a conversation. I write grants not because I love to, but because I know it's necessary to bring the resources to these communities that we serve. And anytime you disconnect that from the actual people, then your grant is not going to be as strong. When we received the $2.5 million grant from the Bezos Foundation, that's Amazon. How in the world did Amazon find us?
Right.
Because it wasn't something I went out there looking for. It was they have to invite you to apply. They contacted us and said,
Wow.
We see what you're doing in the community, and we would like for you to apply.
Yeah.
And so do the work, and everything you need will come. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our project with partnerships. You can't do the work alone.
Yeah.
Partnerships are necessary. I'm now a real estate developer. That's funny. But the reality is, it is through the partnership. When I first got to Halifax, I was told, when you get a chance, go see the worst housing development that we have here. And I didn't get a chance, because if you ever walk into an organization that hasn't been run well, you got work to do inside. So you got to do the inside work. It's just like a human being. You need to do the inside work before you start going outside. And so when I got to this development, I could have cried. First of all, to get into the place where the houses were, you went like over, it wasn't potholes. I'm from New York. I know potholes. It was craters in the road, and your car's going boom, 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 boom. And you go inside some of the home, they're trailers, you could see the floor. Some of them don't have water. They're a bit. It was a horrible space.
And this is in our region.
Yeah, not the Danville region, but it's regional.
Yes, regional.
Yeah. And so I was like, what in the world? The Bezos money came shortly thereafter. The pandemic came next. Partnership and collaboration, partnering with the town of South Boston, with the little bit of money we got, the lot of money they got, and now we are able to go in, and we have what's called the West Side Homes Project, where the town is going in and they are going to do all of the infrastructure, new sewer, water, cables going to be run. And then we're going to come in and build stick-built homes.
Oh, okay.
And that's in phase 1. Phase 2 will be a community center. We will have a housing education center. We'll move our Head Start classrooms there in this community and really build out a community. And so I'm not a real estate developer. I'm a community developer.
Yeah.
And so we are building this community, and we are so excited. We've already, there were 13 families in the footprint of the infrastructure construction, and we needed to relocate them. We've relocated 11 of the 13.
Wow.
And once the homes are built, they'll come back. They have the opportunity to come back home to a brand new home. So the side that we'll be building with the Amazon funds will be for rent. And then we have another developer from Halifax who'll do the first-time home buyer side. So some of them will be for sale and some for rent.
So they'll become homeowners.
Yes.
So they will have to go through the whole process, and you guys go through that process with them.
Absolutely. We have a USDA program. We package loans for USDA. The good thing about a USDA loan is we can get people into a home for less than they can rent, because they can get a mortgage for 35 years as opposed to 30, which stretches that out.
Yeah.
The interest rate much lower than what interest rates were conventionally or with any other program. And so we've gotten people approved for $200,000, $300,000 homes where they'll have $500, $600 mortgage payment.
Miss Petrina.
That's what changes generations.
Yes.
When you can pass something to the next generation. So it's not just about what you get today, but how do we build for the next generation?
And when y'all, with this whole entire project, because that was a lot. How do you explain that to a person where you just drilled through the craters and all of that, for them to say, okay, yes. Because for me, I know for me, that would be overwhelming to say that you're ready to make me a homeowner and ready to give you this stick-built house. When we know a lot of times when people in positions like yours show up, we're thinking, oh, Lord, you know.
So when we first showed up, we just showed up with a food truck
Okay.
and some food, and we wanted to know, what is it you would like?
Yeah.
So we're not coming in with what we want. We're coming in with what they want.
Gotcha.
And so because some people were like, well, we could just clear this out and just put modulars. And I asked the people, y'all want modulars? That's a trailer to them.
Right.
They wanted homes. And so that's why that community will be stick-built homes. We'll do a couple of townhomes, some of the townhomes for our homeless to be able to get into a one-bedroom. So we'll have the one-bedrooms fully accessible. So, yeah, learning to work with architects and engineers. And so I'm still learning, but
Yeah.
it's happening. And I am so excited about it happening. Not because of anything I'm doing, but because these people's lives are going to change.
Yeah.
But we did not do this without them. They have been there every step. So we
That's
had
the
to
part.
have community meetings.
the
We met
part.
with the community. We came in, we had food at every community meeting. We transport them to the meetings. We're hearing, what do you need? We hired someone whose full-time job is working with that community.
I love it.
So
That's the important part. That's the part that I wanted people to understand. Do it with the community.
can't do it without them.
And as big as that project is, you could have easily say, here go these modulars. I love it. What are some of the economic gaps that you see in our region?
And it's just not in this region, but it is, it's a national crisis right now, and housing is it.
Yeah.
Housing is the crisis. And because the casino has come, everyone who has a property now wants a bed and breakfast. Well, if every available home turns into a bed and breakfast for people who are not here, where do the people who are here live?
Right.
And so it has to be at the top of mind. And I know it is. I know Ken is talking it through and working on many different avenues to try to encourage developers to come to this region. But it's a crisis right now, even for those individuals who are renters. People are paying $12, $16, $2,000 rent
Yeah.
in Danville.
Right.
And I wish you would see some of the places.
And that's not counting utilities.
No,
Yeah.
that's a crisis. So when I don't know if you've been to the supermarket lately, but food is very expensive. And so you're having to make those decisions. And I often think of those individuals who are not eligible for food assistance, but not quite making enough to not need them.
Right.
And you have to start making those decisions. So again, at Tri-County, I'm always thinking, what do we do? How can we help? How do we help that pocket? I don't figure everything out
Right.
overnight. Some things I just sit with for a while, and then the answers start to come together. But there's a pocket of individuals. One of the things that I'm advocating on behalf of is the poverty level.
Yeah.
Our poverty levels are ridiculous. They need to change. The federal government needs to increase what poverty looks like. How are you telling me that poverty is a family of four making $30,000? Poverty,
Right.
poverty is a family of four making $50,000
Yes.
because you can't make ends meet.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about that gross is 50,000, what they're bringing home is about 26.
Yeah. Right.
Come on. So make it make sense.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you feel is necessary in Danville that will help with combating those issues that you talked about, the unhoused or infrastructure or economic development? What are some of the ways that we can combat that? Because you're very resourceful, because we've seen that in the work that you do in Tri-County. So I'm asking somebody who brings a lot of info to the table, because you look at the data all day long. That's your job, to look at the data. How can we bridge that gap and provide that? And one of the things you talked about is taking the community with you when you go, like educating them along with providing them resources, educating them. What are some of the other avenues and ways that we can really bridge those gaps and provide those resources?
Real partnerships.
I love it.
Real partnerships, where I'm coming to you with ideas. If you have the funding, let's work together. But real partnership has to happen. It has to be the public-private partnerships. Bring in some of the businesses to the table.
Yeah.
Businesses are impacted when people don't have a place to live. They need people. They want to help. What can the businesses do to help? Having those conversations and bringing all of the partners to the table to really discuss. But the big I's and little U's can't be at the table if you're trying to really move things forward. What's happening in Halifax is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It is the government, it is nonprofits, it is private people coming together to move this project forward. And that's what it's going to take here as well. Not to say, I don't want anyone to say, well, Petrina say we do have some great partnerships that happen here in this region. The foundation is an awesome resource. I don't have that in Halifax. I'm like, why can't they include us just a little bit? But bringing the foundation in. The foundation is not there to develop all of the ideas. Bring some solid ideas to the foundation and partner with them to move these things forward in the community.
Yeah. And I do see a lot more collaborations. And one of the places we were talking about board development, and they were like, if you're not collaborating, we're not going to keep funding. Because it cannot be a solo project. It's very seldom you'll find anything in this community nowadays that needs to be a solo project. So if you're not going to collaborate, we're no longer going to fund it. And I thought that was important. And it needs to be spread through the megaphone that you have to collaborate. Because you're going to bring something to the table, whether it's funding or knowledge, that I'm not going to be able to bring. And you both is necessary.
And that, going back to when we were talking about equity and diversity, and the reason for it and the need for it is because everybody has different ideas.
Yeah.
And oftentimes if you come into the room, leaving egos outside of the room, you can come up with some amazing stuff. The things that are happening let's talk about the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research. The things that are happening there didn't just happen overnight.
Right.
It happened through a lot of collaboration. DCC is on board. The federal government, the Navy on board. So many different parts of that had to happen in order for us to see what's happening there now. And so it's just amazing. I don't think a lot of people in this area have a clue about how much is happening at the Institute. A great resource. And they love partnering.
Yeah.
They have so many ways that they partner. I don't want to call names, but Dr. Julie Brown is a partner amongst partners. I mean, she's always willing to work with you, to help you with resources or just ideas to help you go in a direction. So there are a lot of great partnerships and partners that are here in this region.
And I just think people don't know about them. I'm gonna be honest. I think a lot of things that go in there are hidden gems. They are real hidden gems. And what do you see as a way to expose people to the gem?
Well, the one thing that I learned around community work is I am no good to the people I serve if I don't know the resources that are in the community. And so I own that I have to learn the community. I have to learn what's out there. And as you start to learn when we started the Infant and Maternal Health Coalition, it's things coming out the woodwork. I'm like, oh, that's there. Let's bring it all together. And so the coalition was born because we're saying, look, if you operate around the need, then you start to figure out who's in those spaces already, rather than duplicating the will.
Yeah.
We don't want to be duplicating wills. If wills exist, let's get those wills attached to something that's going to keep it going forward.
Yeah. And I struggle with, and I don't even know how to say it, how do we bring everybody together and leave the egos at the door? How is that done? Because I see it a lot of times, and it's not a particular person or organization, it's just humans being humans. How do we check that, call it out, and change it? Or either how do you navigate and create spaces where it's not accepted to have those egos to show up and be so powerful and the work is not getting done?
So one thing that I'm going to bring to this region is something called healing circles. And I'll be doing a facilitation of it in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks. But I'm a trained facilitator for healing circles. And one of the things that we do at the beginning of the circle is we set ground rules. And so what is this space? Why are we here? And so these are the rules. And when someone is not abiding by the rules, then it's the group's responsibility to pull them back in. Yes, that's good, but let's get back on topic. This is why we're here. And I think that helps to, if everybody first knows why we're here.
Right.
If you want to promote your business, if you want to, there's always space. We'll leave space for that if that's what the group wants. And so does the group want to promote? And so I think coming up with those ground rules in the beginning of any meeting, board meetings, I sit on boards, and sometimes boards need training.
Right.
Boards need training. A lot of times people get on boards because they think it'll look good on their resume.
How do we stop that though? How do we, because it frustrates me. I mean, I know, I got to exhale. But how do we combat it? Like, how do we fix it? Because you're not the first one to say it. A lot of people say it. Even in the board meeting, I hear people telling, gotta be this is a working board. This is a working board. This is a board where you have to do X, Y, and Z. And people will sit there and don't do the work for term after term after term. How do we navigate in those spaces? Because I feel like me saying it is just me being loud, and I can go on down that whole roadway, but it's about accountability. And I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you sit on a whole lot more boards than me, and you've been doing this work a lot longer than me, is no accountability. How do we get to the place of accountability?
So accountability for a board starts within that board.
Yeah.
So with your bylaws need to outline if this, then this. And so, because it becomes, as a president and CEO who has a board, it becomes very hard on the staff who have to support this board that's not supporting the organization.
Yeah.
And so, as the board, if it were my board, as the president, I have a responsibility to call to the attention of the chair, that executive committee, these things are happening and we need to make sure that it gets corrected. But yes, you will, as long as you have a board, you're gonna have people who only will promote themselves and they're only sitting there to say that they're sitting there.
Yeah.
And especially when you get to more prestigious boards. And so I think a lot of times aligning your interests with the board usually for me is the way to go. If someone asks me to be on their board, I'm asked to be on a lot of things. I no longer say yes to everything because I cannot.
Yeah.
Because I have to manage my time in a way that I am impactful in the areas that I choose to spend my time.
Yeah. Last question, and I'm gonna get off of that. I really think a lot of it needs to come from funders, like only distributing funds and people are gonna do the work. Would you feel like that will help, or did that go against where it's really hurting the mission?
Yeah, it's hard for the funders to, some of my funders are in DC.
Yeah.
So now you're telling the funders that they need to manage your board?
Well, just at least ask a question.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
Most funders are going to ask you about your board.
Yeah.
And they're, for community action, we have standards of excellence. It's like 57 standards with an A, B, C, and D of are you meeting these things? Is your board doing this? You need to do board report cards. I believe in board report cards.
I do too.
And have them have some teeth.
Yeah.
Are you donating to this board? I don't care if it's $1. Right. If you sit on the board, you should give $1. Yeah. Because there's going to be a grant that comes along that says, does 100% of your board donate? And if you won't give $1 towards that board, you should really reconsider sitting on that board.
Yeah, and if I know for the federal grants, they ask a lot about the board. And I was just saying, can that trickle down to some of these local funders to begin to ask these questions? What does your board metrics look like? And what is your board,
And in that way,
advocacy.
Absolutely. In that way, when it's time to write the grant, those questions absolutely should. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? It points to a strong organization.
I agree. So tell us, how does Petrina balance life? What does balance look like?
Ooh,
because I know you go to Ghana and all that.
Vacations, getting out, getting away. Yes, I love to travel. Yeah. I think that, it cracks me up when people are like, yeah, I'm gonna see the world. I'm gonna do the world. You got a passport. You're not going far. So let's, sometimes just taking care of those things that need to be taken care of. I work really hard, but I play really hard.
Okay.
And my daughters will be like, no, she works too much. Saida will call me, are you still at the office? It's grant season. I'm going to be at the office for right now. I have a position down. So yeah, I'm going to be at the office a little more. But on weekends, I'm doing stuff for me. Yeah. Doing stuff that I enjoy. I like to read. I like to just, somebody came by my house yesterday. I was like, I need to cut something on in here because it's quiet. And I said, it don't feel quiet when, and they said, I like it. I like it. You got like 4 TVs in here and none of them are on. I said, yeah, they're usually not. You know, they like wall pictures. You know, I can just, the noise, quieting the noise so that I can hear.
Yeah. How do you plan on passing the baton?
Oh, any leader who is not training up those around her or him is not worth their salt.
Yeah.
So I am training individuals. I'm pushing them out the doors.
Yeah.
You know, my executive assistant, I didn't train her so much she didn't grow out of her position almost.
I love it, yeah.
You know, and that's what you want to do. You want to train those individuals around you. If I leave Tri-County tomorrow, Tri-County should be okay.
I love it. Tell me, what's next for Petrina?
I never know. I never know. It's really continuing to enjoy building communities. That's what I do. I build communities, and I build people. I empower people to be all they can be. It's not about me. It's not about me saying, look what I did. I am so overjoyed when I see people that I worked with at church, and you know, a young lady came up to me and she's like, oh, I used to think you were so mean when you worked at social services, but it was for my good. You wouldn't take my excuses.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw that you could be so much more than what you were wanting to be. But yeah, what's next? I'm ready. Hopefully a big trip overseas is coming real soon.
Okay. Take me with you. I bet. Last question. What's your favorite quote or saying, a scripture, or mantra?
Oh, gracious. Scripture is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's never me. It's never me. I wish I could take responsibility. It's not me for my children. It's not me for my life. It's just not me. Ubuntu. I am because you are. You are because I am. We are so interconnected. When we recognize that me tearing you down does not build me up. Me tearing you down tears me down. Building you up builds me up. When we recognize that as people, what a better world we'll live in.
Thank you, Miss Petrina.
Thank you, LaShawn.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys for tuning in to the True North Speaker Series. See you next time.